On this week's episode,
we say goodbye to the only thing we've sold so far.
We talk about pricing products, and Neil has yet another panic attack.
Yes, I do. And we solve autumn's biggest problem.
Ooh.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I'm Neil.
And I'm Matt, and we are the Invention Junkies.
We lost our jobs at a high-tech startup to have 3 months to start a successful design business on our own.
Listen in to follow our story, relive our failures, and join us on this race against the clock. Right, so we started this week feeling pretty good, I think. You shared some news with me, and I have to say, it always gets me pumped when we have good feedback from friends and family. Do you want to go into some of the specifics?
No. Yeah, okay.
I had a weekend away with a couple of mates of mine, and we spoke about what we're doing. And it's always very encouraging when you'd speak to like-minded people trying to start their own things, even if it's different areas and different sectors. It's all very encouraging, very interesting to see how people are taking things on and doing things differently. And it reminded me of when we had the leaving drinks for where we used to work. There was a few people doing the same sort of things, and even though I think at the time we were still trying to find our feet, and even the conversation about what everyone else is doing, what the things they're trying, and that sort of being around like-minded people it's just so encouraging. It gets you so pumped up and ready to sort of make it happen, because there's other people doing their own thing on the same, and they got your back and they want you to succeed, and you want them to succeed. So good feelings all around.
Yeah, it's something that people mention is it can be quite isolating trying to be like a co-founder or a founder. Thankfully, there's two of us, so it's not so lonely, and we know that we're both going through the same things almost all of the time. But you still feel sometimes like you're, a dying breed, and are there many people out there that really understand what you're going through? And then you talk to some others, and it's like, oh no, okay, yeah, you're all as crazy as we are, and we'll figure this out. Yeah,
especially when you've got friends and family doing, the conventional 9 to 5, and not that there's a problem with that or anything, but when you try and when you discuss what you're doing, you kind of get a bit of a strange look, like why don't you just get a normal job?
Yeah.
They just don't get it, and you can use every conversation needs to be a bit of an elevator pitch, and you need to sort of convince this person why it's a good idea what you're doing.
Yeah.
And so when you don't have to do that, and you can actually drill down into the more the detail of what you're doing, it's good.
Yeah, and I think on the back of that, we were, as we say, incredibly motivated. And one of the things that becomes a bit of a slog is all of the admin that you feel like you have to do when you're pushing in every direction. It's the social media, it's having accounts, it's, we're still trying to set up like free admin accounts for our office suite and stuff like that. And you've got to send chasing emails and always be replying to stuff. And so we said this week we want to focus less on admin and more on product development, which is what we're doing this for in the first place. So I think it's been a very exciting week on the path that really pushes us forward. But it did lead to this quite funny moment where we were standing next to each other and Neil turns to me, oh God, what did you say?
I just had a moment of realization. It was yesterday, we was around your house, and we were measuring what profile shapes hold clothes the best. We were we had a scarf that had squares on it, and we were like, right, let's measure the squares, and we'd test round, and we'd test square, and we'd test wide, and we'd test thin, and seeing the best shape to grip. It was semi-scientific, right?
It was very scientific. This is, we had a test page with all the measurements. We were writing up notes, recording it. I think this is incredibly scientific.
I think someone who doesn't do any testing would say it's scientific. Someone who is a scientist would go, "You're idiots. You're doing this way wrong." So it was in the middle. But I just thought to myself, I'm not working, and we're testing how quickly a scarf drops off a rail by changing the profile. Is this a good way to spend my life? And but I very quickly thought, yeah, it is. Screw you, brain. This is it. This is relevant.
Yeah, it's the, when you have to explain yourself to friends and family, like, you're doing this instead of having a paying job. You're like, yeah, why wouldn't I drop a scarf off a pole?
Yeah. What did your testing find? No different, actually. It doesn't matter. Right, so was it wasted time? No, very valuable data. Very valuable data. Yeah.
Yeah, now we know what shapes we can use and can't use. Go on. So with that, I think it's a good opportunity to leapfrog into
Theme of the week.
Oh, wow. Okay. I think we've gone a bit too far.
Yeah, I'll dial it down next week.
Go on then. Roll us in. What's our theme of the week?
Theme of the week is about the money. It's about cash. And I was thinking about this morning. Before we went into this, we thought we knew about money because we use money, right? And I think everybody listening would think, oh, I know about money. I know how money works. And it's surprising how much you don't know about it until you're on the other side of it and you're setting prices and you're not working out how much it is to buy something, you're working out how much it is to sell something.
So I think that's a funny theme. I think it could be theme of the podcast is how much we thought we knew and how much we actually know about everything. Money is a very good example, but you go like, oh yeah, I know how to do this thing. Nope, you know nothing.
Yeah, that very good theme. So we're selling this storage unit that slots nicely into a Kallax, IKEA Kallax shelving system. And we had a few weeks ago a bit of a disagreement on how much we should be charging for these, didn't we? I wanted to charge some more. I think, Matt, you were thinking this isn't very ethical. It's too much.
Yeah.
And we had we looked into it, and the books say you should be charging about 6 to 8 times what it costs you, which seems a lot, right? It seems like it seems like you're just going to make loads and roll around on all this money you're making. And
I think that was where my kind of like ethical moral dilemma came from. And like I'm happy to say that I think I was mostly wrong looking back at it. Like I think it's difficult to get over the feeling that it provokes when you think, oh, these companies are charging me so much.
Because you look at it from the consumer side, don't you? You're just looking at it from, it's only costing you this much in materials and you're getting this much for it.
Yeah.
It seems like you're ripping everybody off. But we've learnt quickly that actually we're charging these units they're selling for just under 40 quid for a set.
Yeah.
Which is about half the price of a whole IKEA unit. So that's what was like, well, no one's going to pay that much for it. Mm-hmm. And what we're seeing is we're still massively underpriced. It costs us about £12 in materials. So, quick maths, you think, oh, well, that's great. That's £28. Yeah. And then you think, well, I've got to get the material, so I have to get my car and drive down to timber yards to get this MDF sheet. And I have to buy it in big sheets because that's how it's the cheapest. But can't get it delivered pre-cut. Mm-hmm. You have to go to the timber yard and get them to pre-cut it for you. So that's a hour to two's job to get a batch of material come in. And then there's obviously storing it is got to make sure it's in my shed, which is prone to leaking. So I have to cover it with loads of plastic to make sure that, because if it leaked on it, then that's all your material gone. Then there's actually cutting it out. So I'm using my laser cutter to cut these sheets out, but it's limited. It's not massive. It's only 40 centimeters by 40 centimeters, so I can only cut a small amount at a time. It's surprising just how much material goes into a set of 6 drawers. It's about if you think a 2.5 meter sheet, it's about 3/4 one of those, in just wood alone. So it's a lot of cutting. It takes about 2 hours if I'm on it. It takes 10 minutes to do a layer, and I have to go back and have to take those layers out, and then have to reprocess it and re-hit it, and then occasionally re-upload the next pattern for it to cut out. And 2 to 3 hours sort of time. And there's me walking backwards and forwards time to reset it. Even though the machine's doing the job, it's not. I can't just press a button, then it makes them all by itself. Meanwhile, you're 3D printing all these clips and you're going through the same sort of process.
Well, I feel like I've got the good end of the deal here because my part is pretty much fully automated. I've got the clip designed. I've got the 3D print file. I hit print, check it's set off all right, and then it's done. And we've even got to the point where the file now is optimized. I think the first batch I had to post-process quite a lot, which did take a few hours. But now it's optimized, so there's no post-processing. They come off the print bed and it's ready to go pretty much. You know, we do a bit of quality control just to make sure they all fit. But even then, it's energy that goes into the 3D printer. There's plastic that goes into the 3D printer. There's time checking it. There's time taking it off. And this all adds up to founder time. So it's not, you know, a production line where it's you know, minimum wage or whatever. Like we have no salary anyway, but the value of our time is not equivalent to doing these things when you're trying to product develop.
Yeah. And we've not even spoken about printing the instruction manuals off.
Yeah.
And then I've got to get the clips from you, or I've got to give the wood to you. And then we've got to package it. We had to buy cardboard boxes, flat packed. They don't perfectly meet the dimensions that we've got because that'd be a custom thing. So then we have to pack it out and make it fit so that it's safe for transit. Or I've been like cutting the boxes down more so that I can get them closer. So I packaged up 2 orders last week, and it took me, about an hour to do, just to box them up. So where initially you'd think, oh, we're making £30 on this order, or whatever it was. Actually, if you think of all of our time, I think if we worked minimum wage, we should be charging about 150 quid for the time we put into it. So then we're like, okay, this doesn't work. Let's look at outsourcing and automating. So we've gone down the route of seeing how much it'd cost to get just the wood parts laser cut out from a manufacturer in the UK and also abroad. For one set from a UK-based laser cutting manufacturer, one set of wood, £80 just to have just the bits cut out, and that's it. And then we still got to get it sent to us, and then we've got to package it all up and all of that. So that doesn't work. From abroad, I think it works out if we had to buy about 500 sets, and it's about the same price as we can buy the material not cut out. So it's still not very optimized. So now we're looking at other materials and other ways to do it. We got to the point this week where I finished the backlog. I posted them off. I got the posters label. Great. Stuck them down. Bingo. And then my phone went ching, and someone ordered 4 more. Oh, I died a little bit inside.
So I've realised that somehow, amazingly, I've mentioned before I'm doing a renovation project, and I think whenever I'm at the renovation project and I'm washing a bucket, we sell our listing, because I was emptying tile adhesive out of this bucket, and that's obviously I'm not going to answer my phone, and I think I'd left it connected to something. Anyway, my partner comes out. She's like, "It looks like you've sold stuff. Your co-founder's freaking out." And I was like, "Oh, okay, right. I'll call him back in a sec."
Well, you got to stop washing the buckets out, Matt. Or wash loads of buckets so we can, go the other end with it. One or the other. The frequency of bucket washing isn't enough. Isn't right.
But yeah, so we sold 4, and I'd, like, separate to that, have contacted the buyer about some of the details on the listing anyway. But we decided we could either keep putting the price up of the listing every time we make a sale, and I think it was a relatively mutual decision in the end. We just decided that we had to drop the listing, because the bottom line was we are losing money. It doesn't feel like we're losing money because it doesn't come out of our account, but we are losing money every time we make one of these things. And I think when you say it like that, it's enough to go, well, why would we keep making them?
Yeah, it's every time that goes ching, you're like, well, that's cost me 100 quid minimum. So yeah, it just doesn't work at the moment. We haven't dropped the project. We're still looking at ways, and we're talking to manufacturers on other methods and using other materials. But the current method, it's proven that there's an energy for it, but we need to work out how to scale, and that's the next thing. There was a nice we found there's a YouTuber called Simone
Yetch.
Yetch, yes, on YouTube.
I think this was part of trying to understand how we can scale sort of sustainably as a business rather than just sustainably as a environmental practice. Doing some research on, like, how do you get from design to produced product, and she's formerly known for sort of like failing robotics projects, so something that brushes her teeth or wakes her up in the morning. And I'm sure if you Google Simone Yetch and you find one of these videos, you'll recognize it from when it went viral years ago. But she's since moved on to actual value-added products, and I think they're really nicely designed. There's some really nice stuff she's got in her store, which is the Yetch Store. I highly recommend you check it out. This is not like a paid promotion. We just really like her stuff. But yeah, we came across this new YouTube series that she's doing, and she's lost money on products that she's developed. This is a problem that people have, and she talks about it as well. And it was just really nice to see someone else going through. Well, not nice for her, but nice for us to see that this is a common problem. And I think we both got a lot out of her talking through the steps as well.
Yeah, I think the one that stuck with me, she's charged 4 times markup on something, and she's still losing money. And her business, she's got all these great products, and she's still losing money. It's not making money yet. I guess it's close to sustaining, but it's not. It's still losing money. So, yeah, there's a lot in the pricing. You've kind of got to not think of it from the consumer side. That, as we said, it's not about the difference in markup. There's all the other overheads, and the time. It's the time that's the most expensive thing, and you can see why people go abroad for manufacture, because it's cheaper, because that's the only way to make it work. And consumers have this sense of how much things should cost. So if you say, the set of drawers is 100 or odd quid, they'll compare it to the IKEA unit, who make things in mass, abroad, and can sell things a lot cheaper, and that's your baseline. So it's just finding that balance and finding a way to do it.
Yeah. So I think that wraps up our theme of the week. Cash is always on the mind when you're trying to start a business. We have some in the bank now, thankfully, because we cashed out all of our accounts last week. But I don't think this problem is going away anytime soon.
No, it seems like you can't really make a successful business without ignoring this bit as well. It's kind of the one key metric for success, right? Is how much money you make.
Yeah. And we only have a limited supply of savings to pump in as well.
All the problems. It's fine. We'll be fine. So let's give a little update on what we've been doing this week as well on product development and that side of thing. Now that we've spoken about the money, get that out of the way.
Yeah. So we mentioned having this moment of realization that we're standing around wasting our time. No, not really. And I think it's developing a physical product is something that is a little bit foreign to a lot of people. You interact with all of these designed things around you every day, the boxes even that your things come in that you won't appreciate someone has designed and has manufactured and even engineered these things, and everything is a lot more thought out and processed than you necessarily at first realize. And so giving some insight on the behind the scenes of developing a physical product, we thought we'd just sort of invite you along parts of the process. So we've been prototyping at what I would say is now a sort of medium fidelity. Low fidelity being, cardboard, it's rough, it doesn't look like it, but you're testing basic principles. Medium fidelity is you're starting to think about, proportions and size and scale, how things interact, how they work with each other. Things need to be a bit more representative of what the final product is going to be, so that we're testing things that actually matter. And it's so inspiring doing this, because you really feel like you're on the cusp of having something actually ready to make.
I've been so surprised at how the smallest adjustments can make the biggest of difference. So yesterday we were looking at the angle of a rail, and this was a good one. It was the angle that if a rail was beholding a piece of clothing, the angle that it come out from the wall, and we were just mocking it up at everything 90-degree angles, and that was for functionally that was fine. And then we started adjusting them, and all of a sudden there's this moment where, okay, what about this, and changed it so it wasn't 90 degrees, and you went, ooh, oh wow, oh I really like that. And it's so funny how something which seems irrelevant can make such a difference to how you interact with this thing and how you see it, and the whole look and feel of it, and that sort of, I guess it's user experience, because it's more enjoyable to interact with, and if it's more enjoyable, even because it looks nicer, that's how people cherish their things and learn to love them and enjoy the product. Whereas if it was this is the function. It's very basic. It would work, but you might not fall in love with it as much as you would if it was a lot of effort's gone into just how the curves are and the shapes and just how it looks as well.
So I think this is a really, really important detail in design that can be so easily overlooked. And I think good designers do it well, bad designers don't do it. But it's the real fine details. So I can't think of an arbitrary product like a drawer or a cupboard. The difference between a nice hinge and a not nice hinge. You know, we've all used soft shut, and I recently interacted with some cheap soft shut hinges, and it wouldn't shut all the way when you would slam it. You have to like give it a bit more force for it to shut. Or a keyboard that doesn't have a good tactility in the way you press the keys and they get stuck, or you're not sure if it's all the way down, or a mouse clicker that doesn't really click when you're pressing it, so you don't know if it's clicked all the way and you're like changing. These things that seem like it's just I'll use the switch and I'll put the switch in, and if the switch works, then the switch works, right? That's it. There's so much to it in the design of these parts. And so I know it sounds a little bit pretentious when we're saying, oh, the angle of the rail made it really approachable. And we get a bit carried away with it. And you know, you were turning to me saying, oh yeah, it's like a waiter with the towel draped over their arm in a fancy restaurant. And we're having a bit of a laugh with it. But it really is that level of detail that means each interaction with this product will delight a user. And I think that's what we aspire to when we're developing a product. It's not something that you're going to use and be like, yeah, this is functional. Oh, the button on the microwave pushed and it said 30. Like, you want it to be so nice that when you push that button or you interact with this thing, you think, oh, actually, yeah, that was nice. Or you don't think about it. I think sometimes it's the things that you don't think about that means it was well designed. Yeah,
definitely. And you can think about if something's not working very well, like I don't know, typically double glazing door handles or back doors, you know, they don't close very well and you've just got to fight with it and whatever. And it wasn't until I had a new one put in a few years ago and it closed and it just sort of like gently latched closed. I was like, ooh, I really like that. And I didn't realise how worn out my other one was and how much I hated it. But I was just sort of putting up with it because it was functioning normal.
Maybe this is a new engagement for our listeners, is send us your design hates, your pet peeves. What is that product that doesn't work quite the way you want it to? The drawer that sticks when you're shutting it, or the mug where the handle is in the wrong position in your hands, doesn't fit through. I love those mugs that are like novelty and they've got they're like the ears, so that when you drink from it, it sticks you in the eyes. And
I've not seen those.
Stuff like that. We'll post the link on the podcast notes. I'll find it and stick it in there. But anything like that, I love it because usually it's quite easy to fix. And it just shows you that there wasn't that user testing. There wasn't that element of design thinking that went into the product development.
Yeah, what happens when I actually put this thing to my face? You think, oh yeah, it's got a handle and it holds the liquid. Job done. It's going to work.
So I think just on our process, we're now at that medium fidelity, as I said. So we're starting to 3D print, starting to fabricate some stuff to work with it. Low quality 3D prints, and for the nerds out there, that means a large layer height, quick prints, low fidelity, low resolution. We had many breakages, and we were using lots of masking tape and like heat guns to bend bits of plastic pipe and just screws and stuff. But you can see the remnants of some of it behind me for anyone watching the video.
Don't show them that. Someone to steal our ideas.
IP. I feel like we're really close now. I think we are a few weeks away even from having a final design that we're talking to manufacturers about.
Yeah, we know exactly what functions this thing needs and doesn't need. And that was some of the testing that we did yesterday. And I think another part we've not gone into too much detail, I'll mention briefly, is just how much configuration options you give to the user. Because you think,
this is the next one.
A user wants to configure anything, they want to be able to do it themselves. But actually, sometimes you need to nudge them and not give them too much because, for example, we're doing lots of testing on the rail shape and what what angle it is. So a user, if you gave all these different shapes of pipes for them to put on what they like the best, most users aren't going to sort of do this testing and do the scarf drop test to see which performs better. That's what we should be doing, and we should be thinking that part out so that they can just do the
Yep.
final bits at the end, just at the right level. So it's not, there's something in not giving too much configuration options, and it's finding that balance, isn't it? And we had this yesterday with Angle, and was discussing how two rails could be clashing if there was an adjustment on one of the axes, and sort of came to agreement that actually we probably shouldn't give that level of adjustment to a user. We know what's going to work, and let's just say this is the standard because this works, and not make this part variable. So it's just a fine balance of making it enjoyable enough so that it can be configured, but only to the extent where it's for the use case specifically and not necessarily for anything else.
Yeah, it's such a classic example of less is more when it comes to this design. The user wants to be able to put things in a position, but they don't need every position thinkable under the sun for everything that goes on it. It's we've done the design, we've done the testing, so that you don't have to worry about getting it wrong.
I think then, Matt, we should probably move on to the theme that everyone is talking about. It's all over the news.
The message boards lit by people talking about this segment.
Yeah, it's all the kids are talking about it now as well. It's all over. It's all over TikTok. It's a world famous segment, which is
Problem of the week.
yes, problem of the week. So this week we had a letter come through our post box from.
We sifted through all of the other mail that's in there, all of the write-ins that we have.
We got one of those big drums. We put the letters in and we rotated it around, and then we put our hand in and we picked out this one letter. And this is how we got this week's problem. So keep sending your problems in. You know, there's a good chance you will get picked. This comes from Rhoda, and she written to say she has a problem with leaves on her driveway. And she spent a lot of time raking leaves at the weekend off her driveway because they become slippery when they're wet. So it's dangerous. And then after scooping up 5 bags of leaves to take to the tip, she went in the house, come back out, and then more leaves have started falling off the trees. And I sympathise so much because I've got a tree. It's not my tree. There's a tree nearby my garden, and every year it dumps leaves, and it's just the most soul-destroying process of having to rake them up, because you can either rake as you go, which means you're just handling the same area over and over again with the same process, or you could just leave it and then just do them all at the end, which I did one year, and it killed all of my grass. My grass was like, the next summer, it was the patchiest grass ever. So, oh God, yeah, hate it. Obviously, lovely first world problem, but still a problem.
So I came across someone who had had their own solution to this. They created a bit of a hazard, but I kind of admire the recklessness that went into their solution. Leaf blowers, these exist. Powerful little motor, you just blow them, someone else's problem. Why fight the wind? Let's just make more wind. But what this person was doing was blowing them onto a main road, and they had a lot of leaves. And so I saw this cloud of crap being blown across the road as a bus was coming towards me. And I was like, oh great, this is going to be fun. And kind of braced myself to go through this deluge of leaves. And there's just some guy at the end of his driveway yeah, this is fine.
Someone else's problem. I mean, you're meant to sort of blow them into a pile so you can then move the pile and get rid of it. But he was just making it someone else's problem.
Yeah. So there's a solution. But I want to drill down into what the problem is really. Is it that they're slippery and a hazard? Or is it we don't like the way they look? Is there more to it?
They're slippery. That is true. They kill grass if they're in a grassy area.
Yeah.
They're a problem for things like trains. I know trains have issues with leaves because when they start to break down, they interfere with signalling. Signalling works through the connection through the train's wheels and the tracks. So if there's not an electrical connection going through, then it can mess up signals, and they don't know that the train's there when it is there. And big problem for trains. Obviously, it's not a problem for nitrogen cycle and all of this side of it, how it feeds the earth and all of that. So
The worms love it.
yeah, worms love it, but yeah, I think that's the root of it, and I think it wouldn't be so bad if they just dropped and you just swept them up. It'd be a one action thing. It's kind of like unloading the dishwasher. It's not a bulk cleanup. It's a continuous cleanup over a few months, and if you leave, there's no sort of point where you say, okay, now I should go and do it. Because there's a few, and you think, I can get by with a few. Oh, there's a few more. And then it's like, okay, now it's a problem. You rake them all up, and then there's more start falling. So you're like, well, that was a waste of time because it's just still happening. It's like cutting your hair. It's just a never-ending struggle. So it's it's over a few months.
So I have a surprising amount of energy for this problem that doesn't really impact me.
Talk to me.
Okay. And I'm just gonna spit these out. So wear shoes that have studs on, and that way you're not stepping on the leaves. You could have go on.
It still kills your grass.
Okay, so you could have how pools have these roll-out protectors that you put over when you're not using the swimming pool. You have like a net that you roll out over the areas you don't want the leaves to fall. Let the leaves fall, and then you just heft the leaves off the net into some pile or something.
I had this idea, so I actually considered this before this came problem of the week. I was wondering whether I could completely net out my garden fence to fence with a few things in the middle. So when the leaves fall, they just sort of go, like a roof.
Okay, so this is not a net on the floor. This is just fencing in your whole ceiling over the house property.
Yeah, well, over the over the garden at least. That was one idea. But then I did think about a net on the floor, and then it could be that you just let the grass grow through it, and then you can, it's always down. Then you peel it back, and all the leaves tumble along, and you get rid of them. The problem with that, I found, is that if you've got animals who like to defecate in your lawn, then it could be that becomes a problem, and you've got a mix of leaves and poop. I mean, you could always pick the poop up, but I think that was my best idea.
Okay.
The leaf blowers are great in theory because it saves raking. Raking is a very manual task. It's good at getting them together. So I've tried a leaf blower, and the leaf blowers on like a flat surface like concrete or a driveway or whatever is better because it does actually blow them along. But when it's on grass, the grass just grabs the leaves, so it doesn't do much. So I've got one that sucks and blows, so you can blow them into a pile and then suck them all up. And that doesn't work either. The only way for it to suck is to sort of, you've got this big nozzle, sort of like manually sort of push it over these leaves, and that doesn't work very well either.
So dark humour time. This won't be a problem for long because at the rate of deforestation, there'll be no trees left in a few years. So just hold on.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. You got me on that one. We could go the other way with it. We could look at how you get these things for Christmas tree needles. You spray something on the tree so it sticks the needles to the tree. So we could do it that way.
Epoxy all the trees, yeah.
Yeah, stick the leaves down.
The train track things made me think of a solution I know about that they use on some of the trains, which is a laser to burn sort of like the rail in front of where the wheel's going to be, so they know it's clean and they get the contact.
Is that what they do?
It's a I think it's a startup that isn't necessarily like fully rolled out or anything, but yeah, there is a product that uses a sort of like medium intensity laser to burn stuff away. So I think if we all had these awesome laser cannons or flamethrowers to just clear our driveways, that would work.
Or catch them when they're falling. So as the leaves are coming down, pew 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 pew. Like a little,
like a missile.
Dome.
Yeah.
over your back gardens or over your driveway.
Yeah, the new by Amazon with your Alexa this Black Friday, get your security doorbell that shoots lasers.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be lasers. It could be like a puff of air, like a. Have you seen the umbrella that's just a fan and it directs air? So you walk around holding this fan, and any rain that's falling down hits this jet of air, and it keeps you dry. It could be like that. You set up this totem pole in the middle of your garden that's, massive jet turbine. So when there's leaves coming down, it just blows them, and it's arguably someone else's problem. You're blowing them sideways, like your neighbour. But
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure the main criticism with the air umbrella was that you just end up like blowing air at people around you, like because it doesn't create this nice, draft where it just drips off the side of the mesh. It's like it's actively blown at everyone in every direction. That's not.
Yeah, but that's not your problem. That's their problem. You're dry. That's the main thing, right?
So there we go. Our solution to leaves on the driveway is make it someone else's problem.
Well, yeah, okay. Make it someone else's problem. So hope that helps, Rhoda. Let us know how you got on with the laser cannon. And right back in next week.
So to all our listeners out there and prospective listeners, please, it's time, our favourite time of the episode for our call to action to help us hopefully make this what we want it to be. Please get involved, engage. You can send us your problems, send us help, send us anything, please, please, please. If you haven't guessed, we don't get very much interaction.
We get loads. Just with each other, though.
Yeah.
You can help us by commenting on anything we post on socials, interacting with it by giving a like. I hate saying like, share, and subscribe because it's such a
like, share, and subscribe.
But seriously, that is what helps grow the channel. So it costs you nothing apart from maybe putting your thumb in a different place on your screen when you're watching a short. But it helps us a lot because it shows the platforms that you like what we're doing. So sharing as well, sharing through. Even if it's a WhatsApp or whatever, it doesn't be a public announcement. If you think there's someone you know who might be interested in the sorts of things we talk about, then sharing is caring, and it helps the platforms know that you're sharing our content along, and boosts our appearance on the home screens.
Yeah, and even if it's in real life, in person, please, mention us in a conversation if it's relevant, or even if it's not relevant, you can just mention us in a conversation.
Nice. Okay, let's wrap this thing up, shall we?
Yes. Take us out.
Until next week, Invention Junkies out.
Invention Junkies out. See ya.